Hello guys, and welcome to another Blender tutorial. So today I'm going to be showing you how to simply model a hand in Blender 2.92 using a very simple box modeling technique. So this is pretty beginner friendly, and this is not a hyper realistic hand, but this method can be used to really quickly make the basic form of a hand, especially if you're going to be doing stuff like sculpting or maybe even a really cartoony hand. This method was super useful. So let's get into it and I'll show you how to do it. So I've got Blender 2.92 opened up over here, and in this new scene I'm just going to use the default cube. So with the default cube here, we're going to go into our front orthographic view, and in our front orthographic view, this is optional, but I definitely recommend you drag in a reference image. Now this is one I've got on my desktop here, I'm just dragging it in, and with this one it's just one that I'll put in the description below. It's just a free one, you can download it, you don't have to create an account, and it's just nice to drag in a reference image so you have something to kind of loosely base it on. So go ahead, just drag that in, and then just hit G, Y, and just move it back into scene, right? So when you go into your right orthographic view, you should see this, and in your front orthographic view, you should see this like that. So what we're going to do, instead of sizing the cube, we're going to actually take the hand image here, and we're going to hit Z, and we're going to go to wireframe. Now, if you drag an image into your viewport, it should add it in as this kind of like plane here, and even in wireframe mode, you won't see, you'll still see that, which is really good. So if this plane selected, we're just going to move it by hitting G, and then S to scale it up, and we just want to scale it up and rotate it till the hand, whichever hand reference you're using, is roughly the size of the actual palm area here, like that. So in this case, I'm just going to go with something like that. Okay, that should be fine. Then we're going to select the actual cube itself, and while it's still in wireframe, we're going to hit free to go into right orthographic view. Then we're going to tab into edit mode, and with all of this geometry selected in edit mode, we're going to go S, Y, and we're just going to flatten that to make it more flatter like a hand. About something like that should be fine. Now go back into your front orthographic view by hitting 1 on your number pad. Now with this hand, we want to extrude fingers here, right? So a simple way to do this is to know how many segments, is to simply count the parts where two fingers intersect. So we can see here 1, 2, and 3 intersections here. So what we need to do is come hover over this edge here, hit Control R or Command R, you're going to see a yellow line appearing, and if you roll your middle mouse button twice, you're going to see we're adding in 3 cuts here. So double click and you've added in those 3 cuts, like so. So we're now going to hit Z and just go to solid view, and you can see we have these faces here. So let's go back into our front orthographic view. In fact, just go back into wireframe. And what we're going to do now, while we're still in our front orthographic view, so we're just going to click and drag to select verts. So let's just select these guys here. We're going to go G. We're just going to line these guys up with the first finger here. So it's kind of its directional plane here. And then we're going to grab these guys here, and we're going to hit G and move them. And we're just trying to put them here in the corner of the finger intersections. So I'm going to select these guys here, hit G in the front view, and just move them here. And then lastly, select these guys and then move them down here. So you can already see we're establishing the general shape of the hand in a really simple and effective way. But then over here with the thumb, that's a little bit more tricky, but still quite simple. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in here, hovering over this edge. We're going to go Control R. You can see a loop now appears. Just click that one in, and then double G to slide that edge up to about where the thumb and the hand intersect. And now what we're going to do is we're going to select these verts down here, and we're going to go G, and we're just going to move them in a bit like that. And then what we're going to do is go to our face select option and just select this face here. And in your front view, we're just going to go E and extrude it out, and then R to rotate it like so, and then G to move it out. We're just creating what is now going to create the start of our thumb here. And what we can do is just select these faces down here, and in our front view, we're just going to rotate them like this, and S to scale them a little bit, move them like so, and then extrude them out, rotate them a bit if you need to, just line them up with the hand, something like that, and then go X and delete those faces. So now we have that. Okay? But now what that gives us is a nice point to start our thumb. So let's go back into wireframe, go to vertex select, let's just select these verts here in our front orthographic view and hit G, and just move them here. And we can now create a nice face here. So select that face to extrude our thumb. So let's start by extruding the thumb. So with this face here selected, we're going to go E to extrude and G to move it. And we're going to move it about here. And then we're going to go R to rotate it, and then S to scale. We're just trying to make it the half section of the thumb, like so. And then we're going to go E to extrude one more time. and then select these verts here. It's not 100% perfect because there is a little bit of rotation on the other axes as well of the thumb. So, but for now we're just going to leave it like this as a rough. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go to over here and just select these guys here, to select this face. And then we're going to extrude this face out here for this finger. And we're going to go S to scale it a bit and just G to move. And we're just making the base of the finger here. And let's do the exact same thing with the other fingers. Extrude, S to scale, and then G to move. Just creating the base of the finger here. And then grabbing this face, E to extrude, S to scale. And all we're doing is just starting the foundations of the fingers here. And then these guys as well. Just E to extrude, R to rotate, G to move, and S to scale. So you can see what we're starting here. And now we're simply just going to take these faces and extrude them out. So let's go to our face select, make it easier, and just select the first finger. And let's extrude this guy out to the middle point of the finger. And then we're going to go S to scale it a bit, and then E to extrude to the tip of the finger, and then S to scale that down, like so. Now let's select the next face. E to extrude to the middle of the finger. Rotate a little bit to change the direction if needed, and then E to extrude. Now this finger here, it's quite bent, so I'm just going to keep it a little bit off of the reference like that, but it still works really well. Then I'm going to select this face here, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. Extrude, R to rotate, G to move, S to scale. And then once it's in a halfway point, I'm going to extrude it to the tips. Now there's still one more segment to this finger here, like one bendy part here and another one there, but we'll get to that in a second. Then we're going to select the pinky here, and we're just going to do the same thing. Extrude to the middle here, S to scale. And once again, the pinky has a little bit of a turn to it on another axis as well. It's not perfectly straight on, but for now we'll just ignore that. And then we're going to go E to extrude this face out, G to move it, R to rotate, and S to scale, just roughly getting it to that pinky. Now we can go Control R over one of these edges, double click, double G, and we can slide in an edge to where we need to. So the finger has 1, 2, 3 segments to it. So just slide it, S to scale, and we're just trying to make those last little segments. Control R over here, double click, double G, and just kind of try and line that up best you can. Same over here. Just adding in a segment here, and then one more segment over here as well. G to move it if you have to. We're just trying to create the rough form of the hand here. You can already see this is what it's looking like just from simple box modeling. And now what we're going to do is, while it's still low poly, we're just going to select all of these faces by holding in Shift on the fingertips. Go to your right orthographic view. Then you're going to go to your proportional editing, enable that. Come to your drop down and make it connected only, like so. In your right orthographic view, you're going to go R to rotate, and you're going to roll your middle mouse button to control the fall off. So you're going to rotate it like this, and then G to move it forward a bit. So we're trying to create a little bit of natural curvature to the hand. And then we're going to grab the thumb, and on the other side, we're just going to rotate it in a bit and kind of try and do the same thing like that. Just trying to create a very rough hand here. And now what we can do is we're going to come over one of these edges here and go Control R. You see a line appearing, double click, and we've added in an edge. And now what we're going to do is we're going to, with that edge selected still, we're going to go Alt, S, and we're just going to slightly scale it out along the normals, just a little bit. Then we're going to hit A to select everything. Then we're going to go to our Smooth tool, and we're just going to smooth it out just a little bit to round out the hand. And there we have it. So now we can go to our modifiers. And let's simply add in a subdivision surface modifier. And I'm going to just hit this button here. That's going to put the cage deform on it. So you can see the edges are kind of just adhering to the modifier. It just looks a little bit neater. Tab out of edit mode, then go to object mode and enable shade smooth. And there you pretty much kind of have a super basic hand. Now this is the most basic hand you can make. There's still a lot of little details a hand would have. And like I said, for example, the rotation of the thumb here and the pinky can kind of bend in a bit. So if we just tab into edit mode and we just select the actual loop of faces here on the thumb and just grow the selection, we can actually, while our proportional editing is enabled, just rotate it by hitting R in a little bit like that. So we have a little bit of inward rotation to that. And the exact same thing with the pinky. The pinky isn't 100% straight on. The hand kind of rotates in a little bit like this. It kind of cups in. But you can look at some different references and spend as much time as you want refining this hand. And also with the wrist here, the wrist isn't that flat. So we can just select some edges and just move them out with the proportional fall off. and just create some natural, kind of like a bit of a natural inset here, just to make it like a palm. So not perfectly flat. So just mess around with it. Try and just create a very dynamic looking shape to your hand. Look at some different references, but this is the most simple hand you can kind of make really easily and really quickly. You can also just add in some extra loop cuts anytime you need to, and just pull points out like edges, add in some different loops, try out some different things. But this has been a very basic tutorial, just showing you from a beginner's perspective how to make a really super simple, easy little hand in Blender and any 3D program really. Just using these really basic box modeling techniques can get you some pretty good results with making some quick and dirty hands. But by all means, put as much effort as you want in it. Add some extra cuts and loops if you want to make maybe like knuckles and different bulges and stuff on the fingers. But that's also stuff you can paint in with normal maps if you're doing like texturing. So all stuff like that you can keep in mind. But this has been a tutorial on how to make a super basic hand in Blender using some really basic box model. You can see this is kind of one I prepared earlier, kind of the exact same thing. I'll be putting these on Patreon if you guys want to check that out. But I hope you guys have enjoyed this just basic modeling tutorial, and I'll see you guys next time for another Blender tutorial.